is a presentation of Main Street Media, your source for news, sports, and information on Main Street in Middle Tennessee.
Welcome into the Monday edition of Main Street Sports Today. I'm Maurice Patton. Justin Kulik, as he did late last week, working the controls for us here on a cool and overcast Monday afternoon. We are without Chris Yao yet again as he continues to get used to fatherhood times two, as he and his wife Sarah welcome Chandler into the Yao household on Thursday midday. So again, congratulations to them. Chris will be back when he gets back. In the meantime, Justin and I are here and got a full show for you as we usually do on Monday. Plenty going on over the weekend, and Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 is going to help us discuss some of it because he is as close as there is to a Vanderbilt football expert, and Vanderbilt football certainly earned some discussion this weekend. Also going to touch base with him on Vanderbilt basketball, which also earned a little discussion. And we'll be going around the SEC, talking a little national college football. It was an interesting day Saturday, a little bit on Friday night as well, I guess. Catch up on some high school football. Second round of the playoffs took place this past Friday night as we continue to move toward the Blue Cross Bowl in Chattanooga here in another couple of weeks. And the Titans, another interesting Sunday. Always interesting with the Titans. Justin, you braved the elements to go out and check out the Titans this weekend.
I did, man. It wasn't the prettiest game, and it was freezing cold, but it would have been awful if we didn't, if they didn't win. So I'm glad they got that.
If it makes you feel any better, Justin, it was pretty darn cold in the press box as well.
Was it?
Yeah.
Somehow that does make me feel
well, I'm glad I could make you feel better. Yeah, it was not the most comfortable in the press box, and particularly when it was 1-2-3 punt, as it seemed to be for most of the first half between the Titans and the Broncos. So we will get more into that ball game later in the show. But again, a lot going on, a lot to talk about, and probably the first thing we should do before we get too far down that road is give you this weekend's scores and today's schedule on the rundown.
Here's the rundown.
The Monday rundown is brought to you by Zion Christian Academy. ZCA offers a faith-based, Christ-centered education in Murray County. Give them a call today at 931-388-5831 or visit zioneagles.org to schedule your appointment today. Zion Christian Academy, prepared for college, equipped for purpose. We're going to battle through this rundown because it's a rundown from the weekend, and it's quite lengthy, and there's only one of us reading them, so bear with me. In high school football action from Friday night, Bartlett defeated Brentwood 28-7. It was Beach 24, Smyrna 21. Brentwood Academy down Pope Prep 38-7. Cane Ridge with a 42-6 win over Clarksville. Chattanooga Christian 36, Franklin Road Academy 21. It was Clay County 46, Whitwell 6. Blackman with a 35-31 win over Coffee County. East Hamilton edged Upperman 43-42. East Robertson with the 38-14 win over Bledsoe County. It was McCallie 38, Ensworth 28. Fayetteville with a 42-17 win over Dresden. Friendship Christian edged Donaldson Christian 14-13. Giles County with the 21-0 shutout over Loudon. Monterey defeated Hampton 40-16. It was Henry County 42, Portland 7. Jackson Christian defeated Middle Tennessee Christian 27-25. Knoxville Webb with a 49-24 win over Davidson Academy. Christ Presbyterian Academy 21, Lausanne 13. Lewis County defeated Adamsville 35-7. Lexington with a 21-14 win over Marshall County. Lipscomb Academy 77, Silverdale Academy 13. It was MBA 33, Christian Brothers 14. McKenzie down Moore County 56-21. Page with the 42-39 win at Mount Juliet. Decatur County Riverside 18, Mount Pleasant 13. Springfield with a 38-13 win at Munford. It's Nashville Christian 42, Trinity Christian 7. Nolensville with a 56-36 win over White County to remain undefeated. Also staying undefeated, Oakland with a 41-7 win over Lebanon. Pearl Cone defeats Hardin County 54-21. Smith County goes to Fairview and gets a 28-6 victory. It was Gordonsville 14, South Pittsburgh 7. I'm sorry, that game was actually at Smith County. Red Bank with a 21-6 win over Stone Memorial. Tyner Academy defeats Westmoreland 42-17. East Nashville with a 40-34 win on the road at Waverly. And York Institute blanks South Green 27-0. In NBA action over the weekend, the Grizzlies defeated Minnesota 114-103, then fell to Washington 102-92. NHL action, the Predators picked up a 2-1 win over the New York Rangers. As we mentioned, the Titans in NFL action on Sunday defeated visiting Denver 17-10. Women's basketball action over the weekend, it was Vanderbilt defeating Columbia. That's Columbia University in New York City. 74-63. It was Austin Peay defeating Chattanooga 58-53. Middle Tennessee State went on the road and got a 90-38 win at Southern Illinois. Louisville comes to Nashville. That's number 7, Louisville, and gets out with a 75-70 win over Belmont. Lipscomb defeated Wilberforce 81-54. It was Kansas City 82, Tennessee State 70. Cumberland in 3 overtimes defeated Midway 99-98, then fell to Rio Grande of Ohio. Bet you didn't know that one. 85-74. Fisk women with an 83-70 win over Shawnee State. Southwest Baptist defeated Trevecca 75-72, and then the Lady Trojans fell to Drury 75-66. UT Southern with a 79-72 win over Laverne. And in junior college action over the weekend, Roane State women defeated Columbia State 54-41. Ball State with a 59-36 win over Motlow State. Men's basketball action this weekend. Southern Miss comes to Memorial Gym, gets a 60-48 win over Vanderbilt. Colorado at Bridgestone Arena downs Tennessee 78-66. Winthrop hands Middle Tennessee State a 76-68 loss. Purdue downs Austin Peay 63-44. Furman with an 89-74 win over Belmont. Lipscomb defeats Campbellsville Harrodsburg 107-54. Tennessee State with a 80-61 win over South Carolina State. Marion defeats Cumberland 72-53. Cumberland bounces back for a 69-58 win over St. Francis. Miles College 60, Fisk 48. Trevecca with a 70-69 win over Ferris State, then falls 82-55 to Grand Valley State. UT Southern with an 80-79 win over Oakwood. In JUCO action, it was Motlow State 92. Volunteer State 81, and Columbia State with a 73-65 win over Roane State. College football action of local interest. Vanderbilt with a 24-21 win in Lexington over 24th-ranked Kentucky. Tennessee downs Missouri 66-24 on Senior Day. Middle Tennessee State gets a 24-14 Conference USA win over Charlotte. UT Martin in Ohio Valley Conference action defeats Tennessee State 20-3, and Bethel downs host Cumberland 43-24. Today's schedule in NFL action: Monday Night Football, Commanders at Eagles. That's a 7:15 kickoff on ESPN. Women's basketball action today at 4 o'clock. Lipscomb hosts Mississippi Valley State at 5 o'clock, and you can see this one on ESPN. Number 11, Indiana. Well, they were number 11 last week. Not sure what they are this week, but they go to Thompson Bowling Arena to take on number 5, Tennessee. That's a 5 o'clock start on ESPN2. And at 5:30, Trevecca is at Tennessee State. That game is also on ESPN2. Men's basketball action this evening at 6. Dalton State is at Fisk. At 7, Milligan is at Austin P. That game is on ESPN Plus, as is the Battle of the Boulevard at 7. Belmont is at Allen Arena taking on the Bisons. And at 8 o'clock, Alabama State is at Tennessee State. That game is also on ESPN2. And that is your rundown.
Well done, sir.
Well, thank you. I try. Sometimes all you can do is just power through it, man. Justin, we didn't get a whole lot of chance to talk about this last week because we had so much going on. But our top story today, from ESPN analyst to head coach of the Indianapolis Colts, Jeff Saturday makes his head coaching debut in Las Vegas and comes out with a 25-20 victory over the Raiders. Thoughts?
Man, good for him, right? I think that's a good thing. But if you're a Colts fan, how high are you really excited about it? Like, I wonder. I'm curious to find how they reacted, or Colts diehard fans. Like, does it mean a lot? Does it not mean a lot? Does it mean anything?
There's a lot to digest with that whole situation. I mean, Bill Cowher checked in on the NFL Today prior to Sunday's games and discussed just how much of a slap in the face it was to folks who have devoted their entire career to becoming one of 32 head coaches in the National Football League. And this guy, declined to be an assistant coach, but didn't mind coming in and being a head coach. And I mean, there's just a lot to it. And so now, on the heels of him coming in and winning his debut, there is a faction out there that wants to say, well, see, this proves it. He deserves it. There's nothing wrong with this hire. Everything is fine and hunky-dory. My thing is, I would be wary of getting too caught up in a win over a Las Vegas Raiders team that came into that game 2-6, that is in obvious disarray. And Josh McDaniels is
how about
he was on thin ice before. And what are you saying if you're a Raiders fan? That's my question.
Right.
If you're a Raiders fan who lost to a team who their coach a week ago was getting ready for a telecast.
Right. I can't imagine how it feels for Josh McDaniels to see Jeff Saturday get his first win, and he still has yet to get his.
Well, I don't even know that. I don't know that Josh McDaniels has enough self-awareness to really even feel any kind of way about it, to be honest. But right. I think another side note for Colts fans is this is a little get back for them, because many of them remember, even if not everybody does, Josh McDaniels took this job in Indianapolis and then reversed field on them. I think that was the hiring process that ultimately resulted in Frank Reich being hired.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard about that the other day. That's crazy.
So, yeah. So there's a lot of little undercurrents and nuances and that kind of thing to the Jeff Saturday, Indianapolis Colts, Raiders, that whole thing. A lot of little side stories. There could be books to come out of that whole thing, I would think. But it's certainly an interesting dynamic. But
right. All coupled with the fact that I just don't like the Colts at all.
Well, they are easy to not like.
I think they would even agree.
Yeah. So let's see. The Colts next play next weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles in Indianapolis. So we'll see if the Jeff Saturday Magic has another week in it.
Yeah, for sure. When do they get Darius Leonard back?
I couldn't tell you. Since the Titans got their sweep of the Colts, I've not really concerned myself with them a whole lot. But I did think it was interesting that Matt Ryan got the start yesterday.
Right, and it kind of made me think, no brainer, right? It's funny that when he got pulled, it was like, okay, that makes sense. But now, when he wasn't in, they had Sam Ehlinger in. It's like, why?
And he got beat like a pinata.
Right. I know, poor guy.
Yeah, it was awful. It was awful. But nice. I'm a little bit of a Falcons fan, and it was nice to see Matt Ryan have some success, especially now that it can't really hurt the Titans, like I said. So the
Right.
Titans are 2 games clear of the Colts, and they've got a sweep of the Colts. So that's basically a 3-game lead in the AFC South. It would take a pretty much a total collapse for the Titans to not win this division. Not that they're not capable, but
Right.
still, I would think here at the halfway point, you have to feel pretty good about where the Titans are in terms of the AFC South standings. We'll get more into where they are on the field later in the show, as we said. But
Right.
again, Jeff Saturday, 1-0 as an NFL coach and 1-1 as a coach, because I think he lost his only other game as a head coach in the Georgia high school ranks.
Right. I thought I heard something about him being nice. Did he just play one game or coach one game?
It seems so. I'm not totally up to speed on that, but maybe he just lost his last game. I'm not sure, but
Either way, it was an L.
he does not have a whole lot of wins as a coach on any level, but he has one on the NFL level. So congrats to him. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we will be joined by Southeastern 14's Chris Lee, talking a little Vanderbilt here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back into Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. I'm Maurice Patton, Justin Kulik running the controls, Chris Yao changing diapers, as he's now got that assignment ×2 as of midday on Thursday. So congratulations to the Yaos. Chris should be back in the saddle, well, when he's back. So we're going to keep talking sports here. And Justin?
Yes.
Do we have our third?
We do, yes.
Awesome. Fresh from his walk, Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 joining us here on Main Street Sports Today. Figured we would bring Chris in because a program that's near and dear to his heart got a significant monkey off their back Saturday afternoon as Vanderbilt went up to Lexington, which has typically not been an easy or a fun place to play because it's always cold, it's always wet. Saturday was no exception. Vanderbilt braved the elements and the 24th ranked Wildcats for a 24-21 comeback victory that was not sealed. Well, wasn't sealed until Will Levis's interception on the final play of the game. But Vanderbilt scores in the final minute. And man, they showed some resilience, Chris, that a lot of folks have been looking for a long time in that one. Justin, I can't hear
You're
Chris.
muted there, Chris. There we go.
Talk to me, Chris. Nope.
Let's see.
Hang on.
There we go. There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. The mute was unintentionally on. Sorry about that. Yeah,
No,
it
that's all
was
right.
1,119 days since Vanderbilt had scored an SEC win. Vanderbilt had that going against it. It had the Dan Jackson distraction. It had the flu went through the team. Vanderbilt had 2 starting offensive linemen out. I mean, look, it's tough at Vanderbilt anytime to win games under any circumstances. But that's a lot going on, and I think that was a really big win for them against a pretty good team.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Kentucky fell out of the top 25 ranking, the AP rankings this past weekend after that loss. But like you said, that's been a pretty good team, and for Vanderbilt to go up there under normal circumstances, like you said, let alone everything they had working against them, and get that win, really kind of speaks to what Clark Lee has been able to get done up there. And like he said after the game, it's tough at Vanderbilt, not making any excuses, just stating fact. And to go on the road and get a top 25 victory is really, really a special occasion, I think.
Yeah, Mo, and it's not just that. If you had asked me most of the last couple of years, where are the bright spots, where are the players you can build on, I would have had a really tough time answering that. But they're starting to develop some talent. They've now had one quarterback who was SEC freshman of the week, and another one who was SEC player of the week this week, and Mike Wright. They've got a running back,
and they weren't the same guy.
and they weren't. And by the way, their third quarterback has had multiple 300-yard passing days in this league. So there's that too. I mean, you don't see Vandy with 3 quarterbacks like that very often. Ray Davis went over 1,000 yards from scrimmage this weekend. He's averaging basically 100 yards a game if you include receiving yards, which I don't know why we don't do that more for running backs, because those count too. You've got Will Shepard, who's a really good receiver who caught the winner. You got Quincy Skinner, who had 2 touchdowns last week and had the 41 or 42-yard catch to put them at the 8 on 4th down. You had Gamarian Carter, had a 75-yard touchdown catch a couple games ago. You have Jaden McGowan, who's starting in the slot for them as the fastest kid on the team. Again, you're starting to develop some linemen. A lot of kids, younger kids, are getting some playing time with other guys being hurt. On defense, you got C.J. Taylor, who had a great game, made the play in the game. I won't give you the whole list of names, but point is, a year ago, it was really tough to identify kids who were definitive assets for them, and now you're starting to get a list, and that's how you build a program.
Chris, you said it was 1,100 and how many days?
19, I think.
19. 1,119 days since Vanderbilt had won a Southeastern Conference football game. More conventionally counting, it had been 26 games since Vanderbilt had won an SEC game. And now they come back and they are, it's breakfast with the Commodores per usual as Florida comes in. How do you get a streak started in the other direction?
Well, I think one thing is Florida's more of a running team than a passing team. And passing teams are the things that give them trouble. I mean, really, that's how they beat Kentucky. Kentucky could not protect Will Levis. They couldn't get him on track. Now, Chris Rodriguez was a handful and darn near won Kentucky the game himself. Now, the problem with Florida, there's a few of them. One is that they got several fast backs, including their quarterback, Anthony Richardson. And if you get into the secondary, they had a little trouble running guys down recently. Receivers, running backs, you name it. I think that's key number one is you've got to not let a guy get into your back seven with a full head of steam.
Yeah.
Number two, sometimes if you're Vanderbilt, this isn't the way it happened. I mean, I think if you said Vandy goes to Kentucky, it's a negative number in turnover margin. You're not thinking their chances are really good. They did win a game like that, though. Saturday, they were -1. Florida's leading the league in turnover margin, and it is the least penalized team in the league. And so that's not a team that puts it on a platter for you often. So that's the thing. If you're Vandy's, you've got to play a really clean game. Now, Florida defensively isn't very good. It can be run on. And Vanderbilt, I think, with Mike Wright, who I presume would get the start on Saturday. I don't know if A.J. Swan is recovered from his concussion issue or not. And if so, what they do. I think I'd start Wright either way, just because I think that running is what gives Florida problems. If Vandy can control the clock, not turn the ball over, not make penalties at the wrong time, then it's got a shot. But Florida's not going to give you the script in the way that Kentucky did a few times.
Makes sense. You touched on it, Chris. Mike Wright, A.J. Swan, Ken Seal, all have shown flashes of brilliance throughout their careers at Vanderbilt. AJ, in a short period of time, obviously. Don't you have to settle on somebody? I mean, you know the old saying, if you got three quarterbacks, you got none.
Well, they did. Swan was their guy, and he's had 2 concussions his last 2 games. That's what kept him out last game. His head hit the back of the turf. I want to say near the end of the first half of the Carolina game, and the second concussion, I think a lot of places, and I think certainly for Vanderbilt is the one where they, not that they didn't exercise caution before, but you've got to be maybe a little more diligent. I don't know if he plays again this year or not, and that's not with knowledge, but it's just using some common sense. And again, when Wright just led you to a win, and the matchup is favorable, maybe that helps. I think he is their quarterback of the future. He's exceptionally talented. I mean, he's got a cannon for an arm. He's been pretty good about limiting the mistakes, which was my concern when they played him. I thought he would throw a lot of picks. That's not been the case so far, but he's their guy. It's just right now with the concussion situation, Wright's their guy, and certainly Mike answered the bell.
How do you keep, particularly in this era of the transfer portal and everything else, how do you keep 3 quarterbacks of the caliber of Wright, Swan, and Seal in your program for multiple years?
Well, that's a tough one. I suspect they'll lose one of them to the portal just because somebody's not going to play. I'm guessing it won't be Swan, although I think if teams have watched him, he's put enough on film that somebody's going to look at him and go, I think they got a stud there. And he was a 4-star recruit. So it wasn't like he was an unknown. But yeah, I mean, and they've got 2 scholarship guys behind those 2 that haven't played a snap that I've liked some things they've seen in camp. So that's not going to be an easy thing.
You rarely hear embarrassment of riches when you talk about Vanderbilt, but it sounds like
they're lucky to have won most years. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. Chris Yao of Chris Lee, Southeastern 14, joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. Chris, can't let you go without asking you about 60-48 Southern Miss over Vanderbilt on Friday night at Memorial Gym, just mere days after a contract extension for men's basketball coach Jerry Stackhouse was announced. Bad timing, bad loss under any circumstances, but particularly in the wake of that announcement. a Southern Miss team that was 7-26 last year.
Yeah, I did not understand the rush to give him an extension. I think he had a 6-year deal, so he would have had 2 more after this. I think you could have waited till after the season. If he did something, then yeah, at that point maybe you need to do something for recruiting. If he didn't, unless they did something to lower the buyout, you just lock yourself in a situation that may not work out. They didn't look good. I was at that Memphis game for the opener. They couldn't get shots without Scottie Pippen Jr. I mean, when you have a bunch of complimentary players, you better have a dude, and they don't have a dude right now. I think that's their biggest issue. But the Southern Miss loss, Southern Miss was 324 in Ken Palm coming into the game. Southern Miss won 1 game in Conference USA last year. Southern Miss has not had a double-digit win season its last 4 years. Now, granted, one of those was pandemic, but still, Vanderbilt hasn't lost a game like that ever. I don't know. I mean, that's not how you want to go 0-2.
Furman in like 07, 08 when Jeff Jackson brought them in here?
Yeah, that would be close. And the other one, yeah, that's right. That was the year that
that was Jeff Jackson's first
Kevin
year at Furman.
Yeah, and Kevin Stallings, I think, figured it out. Was that the year? I can't remember if that was the year. They had another year where they lost a game between New Year's and Christmas. Maybe that was Appalachian State or somebody, and they weren't looking good, and that's the year Kevin Stallings rode Byers and Foster and got to the Sweet 16 and probably should have been Elite 8. But, yeah, I mean, they've lost some games before, but I think the difference is there were identifiable parts on some of those teams, and I'm not sure there are on this one.
That's what I was going to ask you. You know, you said that they don't necessarily have a dude. Who's supposed to be the dude for them? Or,
well, Jordan Wright was, and Jordan Wright was one of the top 10 returning scorers and rebounders in the league. But Jordan Wright's not a guy that's going to. He's not one of the more athletic guys in the league. First of all, he's not going to create his own shot if he's the focus of the defense a lot. I mean, Jordan Wright didn't play much of the second half of the Memphis game and didn't start the Southern Miss game either, which is not a really good vibe when you're starting the second game and your senior leader isn't in the starting lineup. I don't know what went on there, but there's that. It's one thing to get looks when you've got Scottie Pippen drawing the defense in and shooting 18 foul shots some nights and things like that. I mean, Scottie Pippen, it's like he either made a layup, missed a layup, or got fouled. And usually the first or the last.
mm-hmm.
Miles Studi led the league in 3-point shooting last year. But again, that's getting wide open looks because you got to deal with Pippen. Their looks against Memphis were nothing like the looks they got most of last year. And I think that's their problem is you've got to have complementary pieces around a Pippen. But if you don't have a Pippen and all you've got is complementary pieces, then what do you really have? And that's been their problem so far.
Doesn't bode well.
No, I'm not optimistic. Now, look, Colorado beat Tennessee in Nashville yesterday. Tennessee's a really good team. Colorado just lost to Grambling the game before that. Weird stuff happens in basketball, especially in November.
Mm-hmm.
So I get it. And to Jerry Stackhouse's credit, they have played their best ball every year from probably early to mid-February on, and we're a long way from then. But I just look at the talent in the league, and I look at what they have, and I just don't think it matches up to what most of the league has got.
And you have to be in a position where mid to late February matters too, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, I would argue that for most of the last couple of years, it didn't. I mean, his first year, all they had going for them is, can we stop a losing streak? He did that. A couple years ago was the pandemic year where I think they got some games late. And last year, the NIT was something they kind of played their way into.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that they had a lot to play for at that point. So, 3 years is not a huge sample size, but Jerry has shown that when they don't have a lot to play for, they've still played well. So I give him that. I mean, I think when your kids are engaged and playing hard, it does say something about you as a coach. I just think his biggest deficiency as a coach has been identifying talent on the front end, because you look at some of the recruits he's had, there haven't been a lot of really good ones that stuck around. And I mean, when Jordan Wright is your best player that he recruited solely, which is the case, I mean, you want to give him some credit for Pippen, because that was a Bryce Drew recruit that he helped hold on to. Now, nobody knew at the time how good he was going to be, but point being, his track record with bringing in kids when they've been there 2, 3, 4 years hasn't been really hot. And I think that's the thing he's got to do. I think the freshman class for them is going to be really important, because if those kids, the Colin Smiths and Malik Diaz, can play and play well, even if you don't have postseason to play for in February, at least you've got, okay, here's hope for your future. Colin Smith's going to be a player. These guys are going to be leading your team. But if you don't have that, it gets bleak in a hurry.
Chris Lee of Southeastern 14 joining us here on Main Street Sports today. You can find him on Twitter, as you can see across the screen, at Chris Lee 70, at 14 Southeastern. Chris, what you got going on over there?
Too much. I feel like all I've done for 3 days is talked. We've got football previews of every single SEC game up this week on our channel at Southeastern 14 at YouTube. We've got a basketball preview of Kentucky and Michigan State tomorrow night. We've got football power rankings out this morning. We will have basketball power rankings out tomorrow morning. We've got a live stream at 8 on Wednesday night. And on the Vandy end, just did a podcast about the win in Kentucky at vandysports.com that people can check out for free. So it's been a busy few days.
Well, I'm not surprised, because that's always the case with you. Nobody knows more about Vanderbilt athletics than Chris Lee, y'all. So be sure and follow him again at Chris Lee 70 on Twitter, at 14 Southeastern. Chris, thanks for taking some time with us this afternoon.
Anytime. Thank you.
All right. Hey, we are going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more of SEC football. So stay with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint.
Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50 plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Justin Kulik, running things. We had some interesting outcomes Saturday in the Southeastern Conference on the gridiron. Justin, what did you watch Saturday?
Saturday, I watched. Let me think. I was skimming a lot throughout. I definitely watched the UT game, and I watched the Ole Miss game because I had bets on them. which is not the only reason. I like watching football regardless, but I really, really was convinced that Alabama was washed and Ole Miss was going to squeak one out.
Oh, so what you're telling me is you lost money on Ole Miss Alabama then?
Yes, and it happened to be the last game of the day, so
no opportunity to redeem yourself, huh?
Correct.
That's unfortunate. Well, no, Alabama seems to be embracing the spoiler role with that 30-24 win over Ole Miss in Oxford.
I heard a pretty crazy conspiracy theory if you'd like to hear it.
Sure. Yao isn't here, but we're always up for a conspiracy theory. We're always up for some chaos. So what you got?
Good deal. Well, I saw a tweet, and they can't put anything on the internet that's not true.
Yep.
That Lane Kiffin is just priming himself. Apparently, he had some kind of spat with the media at a press conference, and someone tweeted and said Lane Kiffin's getting ready to take over Saban's job, already getting in up in arms about the media. And I thought about it for a second, and I was like, wouldn't that be insane if Nick Saban retires? I mean, who would be the next victor? What's the word? Supersede him?
Ascend? To succeed?
Exactly.
Yeah, everything seems to point to Lane. And yeah, he somebody was asking him about the performance of the Judkins kid, if that wasn't something to kind of be positive about coming out of their loss. Never mind that Judkins didn't get the ball down in the red zone on that final drive when they were trying to score to tie or win.
Right.
And basically Lane just said that, we're not here for moral victories. I mean, that's paraphrasing obviously, but
right.
It was Saban-ish, but I mean, I got his point. I didn't take a whole lot as a media person. I didn't necessarily take a whole lot of exception to what he was saying, but I think as things currently sit, the line kind of forms behind Kiffin in terms of the successor to Saban. Now, I don't think Saban's going anywhere. I certainly don't think he's going out on a year like they've had this year.
That's a good point. You're right. He definitely wouldn't. I feel like you're probably going to have to, or whoever is going to have to forcefully remove him from that field.
Yeah, I mean, he's however old he is, he doesn't seem to have lost a step. He certainly hasn't forgotten how to coach. Alabama is 8-2. They're 5-2 in the SEC West. I mean, they're not going to win that division. Obviously, LSU and Georgia have clinched their respective division championships and are locks for Atlanta here in about 3 or 4 weeks. But it's a down year for Alabama. It happens. Nothing lasts forever. But I would not bet against Alabama getting back up fairly quickly, and certainly wouldn't bet against them doing it with Saban. I don't think he's going anywhere. Like I said, I just think he's too competitive to go out on a year like this. So, but Kiffin, having been there, and think he left for the most part on a good note. I think he would certainly be a name that you're going to hear a lot about that. And so with that in mind, these kind of things tend to pop up, I guess. And Justin, I've got to duck down for just a second because I've got to plug my laptop in.
Okay, no worries.
Say something.
Okay, I was gonna say, I think it's funny too. When Auburn fired their head coach, and people were starting to you heard rumblings of Lane Kiffin might go to Auburn. I mean, how as an Ole Miss, I mean, I'm not, but I'm saying if you were an Ole Miss fan or an alumni of some sort, that's a volatile relationship. I feel like the fan base and Lane Kiffin have every day, every time a new job arises, everybody whispers Lane Kiffin might go. So I don't know.
Yeah, and
it's
and
confusing.
to that point again, if Kiffin is going to be the guy at Alabama, I certainly think it's a lot easier to get to Alabama from Ole Miss than it would be from Auburn.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, you're right
Uh,
about that.
so I think Alabama folks would be a little bit less bothered by hiring former Ole Miss coach Lane Kiffin than they would be former Auburn coach Lane
Yeah,
Kiffin. I don't think that necessarily helps him. And again, as I've said on here before, why if you're at Ole Miss do you want that situation that's going on at Auburn? And Auburn may have their coach
right. Yeah, that's true.
because the job that Cadillac Williams has done, you know, you could probably argue that they should have beaten Mississippi State last week. They did beat Texas A&M this week. I don't know how much stock you put in beating Texas A&M these days, but they did do it. And in a matchup of two programs that are in varying degrees of disarray, I guess. But Auburn, I think right now, any kind of win is a good win. And
Definitely.
I just think, an alumnus, it really means a lot to him. Obviously, you can tell just watching the way he goes about his business. I
Mhm.
think, I don't think ultimately Cadillac Williams has the wow factor that a lot of Auburn boosters are going to want in a head coach, but I think he checks a lot of boxes, or he should check a lot of boxes there in terms of, again, it means something to him.
Right. Yeah, at least some sort of consideration for that fact. And it seems like kind of similar to how Heupel gets the team going. That passion has got to bleed into the team. They got to they probably are pumped to play for him, or just play for somebody that cares that much.
Yeah, absolutely. You would think that would again mean something. So we'll see how that goes, obviously. But I think he is certainly putting himself in a position to where you got to consider him going forward. You mentioned that UT game, obviously 66-24. Tennessee beats visiting Missouri on Senior Day at Neyland Stadium, and uh, I'm I'm amused at the running the score up aspect that
Yeah.
has been embraced in some social media corners
Yep.
after UT scored 66 and after Joe Milton threw for a touchdown in the waning moments of that ball game. But
Yeah. What's your take
it's
on that?
my take is this: if you don't want me to score, stop me.
Exactly. Exactly. I could not agree with you more.
I mean, if you've got your first stringers in there for 60 minutes and you're still slinging it around and that kind of thing, that's one thing. Joe Milton is a backup. Squirrel White is a backup. You've got those reserves that go out and bust their butts every day in practice. I don't know what self-respecting coach is going to put those guys in and then tell them, don't score, run the ball,
Exactly.
half-ass, don't play hard. No, these guys finally got their opportunity to get on the field in front of 100,000 folks, and they ought to have the opportunity to showcase their talents. And if you can't stop our backups, then you get what you get.
I
Especially when you're the number 13 defense in the country, as Missouri held themselves out to be.
right. Battle tested, right?
Yeah. So, stop them.
Well, and the fact that, speaking of Milton, I'm sorry, my mind just went blank there. Him flicking his wrist and throwing it 65 yards, that was unreal.
He's unreal.
That was so crazy.
He's unreal. I mean, when you watch him play, it's almost like, how did he lose his job to start with? Because if you remember, he was a starter coming out of preseason camp a year ago and did not perform, and Hendon Hooker did, and the rest is history. But the fact that he has stayed in there, we talked to Chris Lee just in the last segment about Vanderbilt having 3 quarterbacks, all seemingly pretty high caliber performers. There's a lot of places Joe Milton could probably be playing right now. He has chosen to sit it out. He's still got another year of eligibility right here. Going to be your starter at UT next year unless something really off the wall happens. And I think folks are just as excited for what he brings to the party as what Hendon Hooker has over the last year and a half. So it's going to be interesting to watch next year with this UT offense, with him running things. And they certainly seem to be, back in business from that Georgia loss. That was just a bump in the road, apparently, because that game was 28-24 at one point?
Yes, it was. So it really got my eye. I was actually playing Madden, and I looked on the score, and it was close. But I realized that if you were watching it, it really wasn't that close,
Well, so do the math. Tennessee scored 38 unanswered.
Right.
Against the number 13 defense in the country.
Yikes.
So, yeah, I think they're okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a break, Justin, and let's take a long one, and we'll come back and we'll talk some more college football, maybe on a national scale, when we come back here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Tennessee. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the TSSAA.
Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Murray County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Hey, welcome back here to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint. I'm Maurice Patton. Justin Kulik running the controls for us today. Chris Yao remains. Justin, where does Chris Yao remain? How do we How do we characterize this?
That's
He's
a
on
good question.
paternity leave, I guess.
There you go. There you go. Yes.
Yeah.
Very
He's
nice.
on paternity leave following the arrival of daughter number 2 on Thursday. So we are soldiering on without him. Want to mention real quick as we continue discussing college football and Saturday's activities, I guess. Apparently there's been a tragic situation at the University of Virginia that took place today. 3 members of the Virginia football team were killed, I guess, overnight early this morning, and a former Virginia player is in custody in connection with those 3 murders. And apparently one of those kids played his high school football at Arlington High School down in Shelby County. So obviously our thoughts are with the University of Virginia football team and those players' families and that community up there. That's a tough situation there, obviously, and
Definitely.
and there's going to be more stuff to come out on that, I'm sure, here over the next few hours and days. But that's, man, you hate to hear that.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's about as tough as it gets.
Yeah. I mean, we all love college football, love talking about it and that kind of thing, but you certainly hate to see this kind of thing. And you
kind of realize that they're human, you know. You think
and
about-
it's unfortunate that it takes something like this to reinforce that thought, Justin.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, we talk about these kids and what they do and what they don't do, and you've got fans that really get out of control, you know, folks that are supposed to be rational folks, watching these kids and reacting to what they do or to what they don't do, reacting to who they sign with or don't sign with, and different things like that, like they're nothing more than entertainment commodities. And clearly it takes something like this occurring for folks to realize that they are, you know, they're not just football players, they're not just entertainment commodities, they are actual, they're people, and they're somebody's child,
Right.
you know.
Exactly.
I mean, so again, our condolences and our thoughts with the University of Virginia football program and that community in their losses here. And so let's a different sort of not good. Justin, I don't know if you saw any of TCU in Texas Saturday night.
I didn't watch the game.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
How was it? It was a bad.
TCU has to be the worst undefeated team ever.
I did see Arch Manning made an appearance at the.
He should have made an appearance under center because Texas is even worse.
Right there, someone tweeted a video of him at the game saying he's on his way to decommit.
He might be on his way to try to get eligible for the rest of the year because he might could be Quinn Ewers out.
Right.
How this kid signed with Ohio State and then transferred to Texas is beyond me.
Man, he must be a good talker.
I don't know. I was not impressed with either team. And,
yeah, that's what I heard.
And I tell you, dovetailing with that is, you know, the Pac-12's best bet for the college football playoff probably is now USC after their 55-17 win on Friday night over, was it Washington State they beat Friday night?
I think so. Let me check. Are they a good football team, USC? I haven't really watched.
No, it was Colorado that they beat. Colorado, who has an interim coach in place. USC beat Colorado 55-17 on Friday night, but then Oregon lost to Washington 37-34, and UCLA lost to Arizona on Saturday. So I think USC is not just the best bet, but the only shot at this point for the Pac-12 to get into the CFP, which may or may not be a good situation for Tennessee.
Right. So I'm curious. Forgive me, I'm not too keen on the whole college football playoff scenarios. I saw that Tennessee, it has more of a percentage chance to make it into the playoff compared to TCU, and I understand strength of schedule does come into question there. Is that the only thing that is that the reason, or I guess I just don't really understand.
I think when you're comparing TCU and Tennessee, as long as TCU stays undefeated, I think they're going to have the advantage over Tennessee. I think as soon as TCU gets beat and they have Iowa State and Baylor remaining in regular season play, I believe, before they go to the Big 12 championship. I think they clinched a berth in the Big 12 championship with that win over Texas. But I don't think Tennessee can feel good relative to TCU until or unless TCU gets beat. Now, I do think that game on national TV Saturday night, I think it'll be interesting to see how the committee takes that game into consideration. I mean, that was a 17-10 win for TCU over Texas. Texas' only touchdown came on a scoop and score. Wow. I mean, offensively, they didn't do anything, but I don't know if that's TCU's best win. I mean, because the Big 12 isn't very good.
Right. Yeah. Well, so is there a scenario where TCU stays undefeated and Tennessee doesn't make it? You think?
Oh, I absolutely think there's a scenario where TCU stays undefeated in Texas and Tennessee doesn't make it, especially if USC, comes out of the Pac-12.
Right, because then that make room for them.
Yeah, there's no real comparative information between USC and Tennessee. I mean, I could see Georgia, the Ohio State Michigan winner, TCU and USC being your 4 if both of them went out.
Right. I was talking to Zach Womble this morning, and he had mentioned that he believes that if whoever loses the Michigan, or he believes they'll play each other, Michigan and Ohio State, whoever loses that is out.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. So? That loser is out. That winner is in. Gotcha. Pretty much. Bearing whatever takes place in the Big Ten championship game.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think Ohio State Michigan winner is probably in. Obviously, Georgia is in, and then you've got, I think, TCU, USC, and Tennessee for 2 spots. Is kind of what it's going to boil down to. Yeah, obviously, we'll have the week 3 rankings will be announced tomorrow, and again, I'm just interested in how the committee reacts to TCU's performance Saturday night in Austin, because they weren't great.
Right. I guess it's funny too, because, and it might be like this in other committees, deciding a lot of, I guess, emotion has a factor in this, correct? Like if you watch a game and it's really bad, you have to take that into account of how abysmal it seemed.
Well, I think that's what you get with a committee.
Right.
Instead of computer rankings, I think you get that human element into it. I mean, I think the eye test kind of comes to the fore a little bit more when you have a committee of folks sitting down and kind of hashing this stuff out and saying, man,
right,
this is your king. You know, I mean,
you put both those teams on a whiteboard. You're like, I don't love this.
Right. Exactly. And I think I like to think that's the conversation that's going on from week to week. Okay, we watched TCU Texas. What did y'all think? Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So hopefully that conversation is going on. Hopefully that conversation is going on with, wow, UT really bounced back from that Georgia loss, right? I mean, that's I would feel like if that's not the conversation that's taking place, then I don't know what the point is of a committee, what the point is of the human element
Right.
being introduced into the situation. Because I mean, you can just
Have a computer do it.
you can just line teams up, but
Right.
I mean, as I'm so fond of saying, it just kind of reminds me of some of my old math teachers. Show your work. What's your basis for lining those teams up the way you're lining them up there?
Right.
And let's talk this through, and tell me something I don't know.
Right. Like exactly. Like let me come out of this not having any questions.
Yeah, make me understand why it is you feel the way you feel about this team. Maybe I'm wrong.
Right.
Maybe I'm not.
Yeah. Is that a little? I guess there's a line, right? A fine line of how much emotion to put into it, though, because I guess if they're an alumni of TCU or something.
Well, let's hope that you don't have that. But I mean, I would
Right.
imagine most of those folks went to school somewhere, so they've all got some sort of allegiance. But hopefully, you've got enough people on the committee that you can overcome that type of thing. But I mean,
Right.
I'd like to think that they are all college football fans.
For sure. Yeah. And it maybe, yeah, hopefully that's where they leave it, or as far as their affiliations, they leave them at the
Oh
door.
yeah. Oh yeah. Here we go. Um, the CFP selection committee.
Oh.
Yeah. Boo Corrigan, the AD at North Carolina State, you see him every Tuesday night after the rankings are announced. He is the chairperson. Other members include Kentucky AD Mitch Barnhart, Wyoming AD Tom Berman, Colorado AD Rick George, who used to be in the Vanderbilt athletic department, Chet Gladchuk, the AD at Navy, former Wake Forest coach Jim Grobe, Michigan athletic director Ward Manuel, former Nebraska guard Will Shields, ex-Texas A&M coach R.C. Slocum, Kansas State athletics director Gene Taylor, Joe Taylor, former Virginia Union head coach and current AD, former Penn State offensive tackle John Urschel, Urschel, John Urschel, and former college football writer Kelly Whiteside, worked for Newsday out of New York, Sports Illustrated, and USA Today. And so they each, Justin, have recusals. In other words, Boo Corrigan can't be involved in the discussion as it involves North Carolina State. Obviously, these guys who are ADs at universities can't be involved if their schools are in the discussion.
Like the Michigan.
But the Michigan AD can't be involved in Michigan discussions. So, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 committee members. And
Interesting.
so that's interesting. I don't know why I had not thought about looking this up before, but
Right. Yeah, me neither. It's kind of it's very I understand probably why they don't have any old or alumni Alabama people.
yeah. I mean, you
excluded.
Yeah. I mean, if you can't be involved in the discussion, then it doesn't matter, I guess. But that's good to know, though. So Barnhart can't be in there necessarily pitching for Kentucky, and Ward Manuel can't be in there lobbying for Michigan because he's recusing himself, or has to recuse himself from that discussion. But there's nobody on here for TCU, which is a good thing.
Oh man, I wonder. I'd love to be a fly on the wall for one of the arguments inside that room.
Yeah, I'm sure it gets quite interesting. But yeah, it'll again be pretty intriguing to see what this week's top 6, I guess, looks like, because again, with Ohio State and Michigan there at 2 and 3, and them getting ready to play each other here pretty soon, one of them you think is going to fall out. I don't think both of them stays in the top 4 once that game is played. So
Who do you got for that game?
where
Too
is
early?
it? I really feel like it's Ohio State, but
Right.
I don't know where it is. I don't know that matters necessarily. Let's
Might
see.
be just the same amount of blue as there is silver.
Yeah. I'm sure those folks will find their way into the horseshoe. That game is at Columbus in 2 weeks. Not this coming Saturday, but the following Saturday.
Gotcha.
So, and obviously a lot riding on that, unless Ohio State loses at Maryland this coming Saturday.
Right, exactly.
And I don't know who Michigan plays this weekend, but I don't see either of them falling before they play each other on the 26th. Illinois goes to Michigan this weekend.
Oh, that's not a gimme.
It's not a gimme. So that would be one heck of a wrench thrown into things there. So
right.
Yeah.
Is it bad that I kind of hope that a wrench is thrown? I don't know. I just like drama.
Did Chris Yao just text you and ask you to do that?
Yeah, he just said stir up the pot.
Well, I mean, he is the reigning Captain Chaos, so that would definitely be something that he would want to throw in there.
Right.
Hey, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, let's talk a little high school football from Friday night, who continues to advance in the state playoffs. Stay with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint.
This is Chris Yao with Main Street Sports Today. Every show, Mo Patton and I welcome friends from all across the sports landscape, from high school coaches and reporters to national, college, and pro sports personalities. You never know who might stop by for a chat. AP Tennessee sports editor, three-time Tennessee Sports Writer of the Year 2020 TSWA Hall of Famer. She covers the Titans, the Predators, the Grizzlies, college football, and hoops. Please make welcome Teresa Walker.
Former University of Tennessee, former Team USA Olympian, ex-Cy Young Award winner, R.A. Dickey. R.A., did I miss anything?
Man, that was sweet. Yeah, I need to listen to that before I go to bed every night. That was nice.
Has 5 sports Emmys. That's not bad for the other guy in Wham, Ryan McGee.
Other guy in Wham married the best looking girl, Bananarama, so other guy in Wham had a pretty good life.
From preps to pros, we're taking on the sports topics you care about. Tune in across Main Street Media social platforms at 2 p.m. or on demand on your podcast distribution platform of choice.
This holiday season, the largest lantern event in the country returns to Nashville Zoo. After sunset, come see more than 1,000 Chinese lanterns. All new designs including mythical beasts, a fantastical North Pole village, even a dragon soaring over your head. Welcome back to Zoo Illumination at Nashville Zoo. Bigger, brighter, and better than ever.
Welcome back to Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Justin Kulik. Chris Yao out on paternity leave. Should be back at some point this week, I would think. Maybe not. Who knows? Either way, we'll make it through. Justin, let's get into a little high school football action as we continue to make our way through the playoffs and toward Chattanooga and the Blue Cross Bowl state championships. Couple of interesting ball games over this past weekend, particularly as you go back and look at the Main Street Preps picks heading into Friday night's action. I think most of us took Beach to defeat Smyrna in Class 6A second round play, and sure enough, the Buccaneers came through against the Bulldogs in a close one, a field goal deciding it, 24-21 Beach. And if you check those picks, somebody picked that score dead on. I won't tell you who. I won't tell you who, But anyway, sets up a big matchup against Cane Ridge at Cane Ridge. The Ravens defeating Clarksville 42-6. So Beach goes out to Antioch this weekend, taking on Cane Ridge in the 6A state quarterfinals. And I really feel like that one's going to be a doozy there. Both these teams have been ranked in the Associated Press top 10 most of the year and been quite deserving thereof. So that ought to be a good one. Another good one, the other side of the bracket, Blackman and Oakland both making it to the quarterfinals out of Region 4-5A. I'm sorry, 4-6A. Blackman with a 35-31 win over Coffee County on Friday night. Oakland defeating Lebanon 41-7. Second time in as many years Oakland and Lebanon have met in the second round, and the second time in as many years that the Patriots have been pretty dominant in advancing. So
got my alumni, man.
They
got my alumni.
Are you from Lebanon?
Yeah. So that's where I went to school. Yep.
Okay. All right. So who was the head coach when you were there?
It was Coach Crane, if you remember.
Okay.
He did not leave a lasting impact. We went 1-9 my senior year. So yeah, I went to every game though and cheered them on. It's funny, the last game we won, or the last game we played, we won. It was against Hendersonville, and I was not able to attend. So I never saw us win.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah,
that's unfortunate.
Coach Gentry is the man.
Yeah, he's really done a great job since he got over there, elevating that program back to prominence, and just getting around the immovable object that seems to be Oakland football here of late has proven really tough, and it's a tough draw. It's kind of unfortunate when you've had the success that Lebanon has had over the last couple of years, and just continue to run into that wall. It's tough. So
kind of like the Bulls and Pistons.
Yeah, exactly. Another couple of interesting matchups looming in 5A, both on the west side of that bracket. Page goes to Nolensville. That's a rematch from region play. Nolensville defeated Page earlier this year. Henry County defeated Springfield earlier this year, and so Springfield makes that long trip to Paris Friday night and takes on the Patriots. And a couple of real good ball games there. Those two winners will play each other the Friday after Thanksgiving with a trip to Chattanooga on the line. So and you could see both those games going in either direction, I think. So Page with a 42-39 win at Mount Pleasant on Friday night. And unfortunately, I don't know a whole lot of details about that one. But again, I think that matchup is everything that everybody anticipated it being. Mount Juliet's had a great year and just ran into a pretty good Page team at home. And Springfield went on the road and won down at Munford 38-13, while Henry County defeated Portland 42-7. So both of them had it. I don't know if easy is the right word, but certainly their games were not as close as that Page Mount Juliet game. Nolensville, by the way, defeated a really good White County team 56-36. So the Knights defense is something that had been pretty highly touted all year. Well, they can put some points up as well. And we've got coverage, I know, of that on the website at mainstreetpreps.com. So be sure and go check that out. Big game out of senior running back Samson Johnson for Nolensville in that one. So again, Page, Nolensville, Springfield, Springfield, Henry County in the quarterfinals this weekend in 5A. Let's see. Semifinal action in Division 2 AAA. McCallie goes comes back to Nashville for the second week in a row, taking on the Big Red of Montgomery Bell Academy, the undefeated Big Red at 11-0. McCallie coming in at 10-2. That's a rematch of last year's state championship game that McCallie won. McCallie advances with a victory at Ensworth, 38-28. MBA downed Christian Brothers 33-14 to advance. So another key matchup there. And that's, again, semifinal action in Division II AAA. So those Division II teams will play their semifinals this weekend, and then they'll be off Thanksgiving weekend before the championship games down in Chattanooga. Nashville Christian advanced. They will play Jackson Christian in the semis in D2A. CPA, with a win over Lausanne, will travel Friday to Chattanooga Christian. That winner will play either Lipscomb Academy or Knoxville Webb. Both those teams are undefeated. Lipscomb 11-0, Knoxville Webb 10-0. So that's how things are shaking out in Division II. Pearl Cone carrying the Mid-State banner in Class 4A with Marshall County's loss at Lexington. Pearl Cone defeated Hardin County this past weekend in the second round of the 4A playoffs. And that score was 54-21 Firebirds. So congratulations to Tony Brunetti and his bunch over there as they continue to march forward. That winner will play either Milan or Haywood in the semifinals next weekend. East Nashville with a big 40-34 win down at Waverly. They get a rematch against region rival Smith County. Smith County defeated Fairview 28-6. And so East Nashville goes back up I-40 East to Smith County, where they lost in the final week of the regular season 15-14. And that winner will play either Dyersburg or Covington. Other side of the bracket, Giles County hosts Sweetwater in quarterfinal action on Friday, and that winner will play Gatlinburg Pittman or Alcoa. So in 2A, East Robertson reaches the quarterfinals with their win over Bledsoe County 38-14. East Robertson will face visiting Tyner. And the other side of that semifinal bracket is Monterey and York Institute. On the west side, it's Riverside coming off of their 18-13 win at Mount Pleasant, taking on Lewis County in a Region 6 2A rematch. And that winner will play either Union City or Huntington. And in 1A, Gordonsville advanced with a win on Friday night. They defeated South Pittsburgh 14-7. And they will play at Clay County, while Fayetteville defeated Dresden in the west side of the bracket, and they will now travel to McKenzie. And that's a matchup of a couple of undefeated teams, both going in there at 12-0 out at McKenzie this Friday night. So lots of great high school matchups coming at you this weekend. We'll be talking a little bit more about that later this week. And get out and see a game. Hopefully the weather will be as good as it was Friday night and not like it has been the last couple of days since. Maybe we'll get one more warm up here before it gets cold for good. So
that'd be nice.
That would be nice. Yeah. Quick break, Justin. When we come back, we're going to wrap things up and talk a little Tennessee Titans coming off their victory yesterday at home against Denver. So stay with us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone and Joint.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint treats your orthopedic injuries and existing conditions. Our trained physicians will get you back in the game faster. Contact us at 931-381-2663 or www.mtbj.net. Hey folks, while we take a quick break from the show, I want to tell you about our friends over at Custom Stone Handlers in downtown Columbia. Ed Rich and his team at Custom Stone Handlers believe in leadership. And outside of the military, our greatest leader building platform is sports. Custom Stone Handlers proudly encourages young people to get in the game. You can contact them today at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStonehandlers.com.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy, ZionEagles.org or 931-388-5731. You can schedule your appointment. Go tour their campus. It is beautiful over there, and you're definitely going to want to see it. Again, it's ZionEagles.org. Give them a call, 931-388-5731, and schedule your tour today.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck yes, that'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Tennessee. Because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint has been the official sports medicine provider for Maury County Schools for more than 40 years. We specialize in orthopedic injuries, and our Ortho Quick walk-in service lets you bypass the ER. Visit us online at www.mtbj.net.
Welcome back for the final segment of Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid-Tennessee Bone & Joint. I'm Maurice Patton, along with Justin Kulik. Did you have fun yesterday, Justin?
I did, man. Yeah, it was a great time. Me and my dad, we were going to tailgate. Too cold for that, but we definitely had a good time watching the eighth string hold up Russell Wilson. First time I've ever seen Russell Wilson in person, and he's so small comparatively. Obviously he's probably more jacked than I am, but
Probably.
but in the huddle, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, well, he's really elusive back there too,
true.
which made the fact that the Titans were able to come up with 6 sacks even more impressive, particularly when they were missing 5 starters on defense, including Big Jeff Simmons and Bud Dupree up front. But they got some heat on him. They pitched a shutout in the second half, and they actually got some contributions from a receiving core that had caught a little heat coming out of Kansas City. So,
How about that, man?
Yeah, how about that?
West
Actually,
Virginia?
10 of Ryan Tannehill's 19 completions yesterday were to receivers, as opposed to tight ends or running backs. So, I mean, it was a team victory,
Definitely.
as most of them are. But, I think that receiving core in particular really needed that coming off of that Kansas City performance. So,
Absolutely.
that was good for them. It was good to see Tannehill back out there again. No knock on Malik Willis. He's just not ready.
Very, very, very true point there. I mean, and for him to get called for a play, come on, Todd Downing. I mean, it's just like no warm up, and they called that. I don't know if you remember, but they called that same play the last time Malik Willis went in, last home game, and the same thing
against
happened.
Indy, and the same thing happened. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't
blame him, but it's just
no,
sucks.
I don't blame him. I hate that he's being put in those situations.
Exactly.
And I don't understand what the thought process is behind putting him in those situations. So it's
Right.
It's interesting. So the Titans on a short week go Thursday night to Green Bay. Now,
Lambeau.
yeah, the backside of it is they get like 11 days off, or not 11 days, but 11 days between games. But this next few days isn't going to be a whole lot of fun, and that trip to Lambeau isn't going to be a whole lot of fun.
Them coming
Green
off that
Bay,
win too.
Yeah, Green Bay going overtime after trailing 28-14 against Dallas, coming back and winning that ball game yesterday. So they're playing suddenly with a little bit of confidence. And the Titans, it'll be interesting to see just who's healthy and who's not.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
again, on a short week.
Exactly. Yeah. The Packers game was one of those games where you check in on it at the beginning, or like towards the beginning, and I'm like, wow, what a blowout. And then you and then you see it on your ESPN app or whatever, you know, you look at your scores and you're like, that can't be right. Is this the same game?
Well, what's funny is, again, my girlfriend Jody is a Green Bay Packers fan. In fact, she and her son are going up for Thursday night's game. But
no way, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I came in and she's like, so the Titans won, Green Bay won. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Last I saw it was 28-14. What, huh?
Yeah. Your double A team there? Like
yeah, exactly. So should be interesting Thursday night, and should be interesting the rest of this week as we continue to go from preps to pros here on Main Street Sports Today.
That was a solid tie-in.
Yeah, be sure and come back with us tomorrow. We will check in with a victorious voice of the Blue Raiders, Chip Walters, as Middle Tennessee State won their Conference USA game over the weekend and got a big win in women's basketball as well. And we'll be talking a lot more stuff. Take that any way you want to. So again, for Justin Kulik, I'm Maurice Patton. Thanks for joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by Mid Tennessee Bone and Joint. Come back tomorrow at 2:00. We'll have some more fun. Thanks. See ya.